So I want to share a story about one of my favorite psalms. We'll get to that in a moment. Now, stop me if I've told this story before. so, um, it's graduation here in Vermont, in Burlington, tomorrow. And I was thinking about my own graduation from university, which was a long time ago. And I had moved to Tel Aviv, and I was working in theater in Tel Aviv, and it was not a good experience at all. And I was in a very low place. And so I went to visit my cousins, my beloved cousins, who are Breslaver Hasidim, and they live in Tzfat in the north of Israel. And one of my favorite things is to go visit them. And I actually play violin because when I was 4 years old, I heard my cousin playing for the first time, and I said, I need to play that. And yes, he is a fiddler in Tzfat, and he has a band called Simply Tzfat, if you've heard of them, which you probably haven't, but they're wonderful. So I went up to visit, and my cousins knew how I was doing. And unbeknownst to me, they scheduled a meeting with their Rebbe. And I was, I was just graduated from college, and I was a rebel, and I didn't want a guru or a Rebbe, but I went and I sat before him, and immediately I began to cry. And he was a very, very empathic presence. And as he listened, he opened up a book of Tehillim, a book of Psalms, and he prescribed me a dosage of 7 Psalms for morning and right before bedtime. My cousins wrote down what Psalms to say when, and the Rebbe said, take these Psalms and call me in a month or so. In times of distress, in times of crisis, when we long to cry out to God and we are tongue-tied, perhaps, or we can't find the words and it's so complicated, maybe we're kotzer ruach, maybe we're short of breath or short of fuse, we turn to our words of Tehillim, of Psalms, the fullest range of emotion in 150 chapters, poems. Maybe you've sat on a bus, if you've been to Jerusalem, maybe you've sat on a bus and you've seen someone fervently praying bent over a tiny book of Psalms with impossibly small writing. And you've heard them reading, chanting. Or maybe you've been part of a psalm circle here at OZ for somebody who needed prayers for healing, who needed some extra chizik, some strength. Maybe you've chosen 10 Psalms to read. Right now at Hebrew College, where I'm on the faculty, we have a WhatsApp group where people, since October 7th, you just call out the psalm that you're on and you write it in the WhatsApp group, and we keep going through the Psalms until we get to 150 and start again at 1. Sometimes it's comforting to read through Psalms at a fast clip, like on a bus in Jerusalem. But sometimes when we listen closely to the words, really, really closely, they whisper some wisdom that we can't get anywhere else. Shir lamalot, esa einai eleharim, me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Hashem, ose shamayim va'aretz. A song for ascending. I lift my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help is from Yud He Vav He, maker of heaven and earth. Let's start there. Psalm 121. Shir la ma'alot, a song for ascents. You may have heard or you may have sung every time after a meal, Shir ha ma'alot, a song of ascending, What is this shir la ma'alot? A song for ascending, or a song to ascend with, a song to pack with you for the climb on a hard road. This psalm is a kind of extra oxygen for altitudes that you can carry with you. Shir la ma'alot. Esa einai el heharim. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Our 11th century commentator Ibn Ezra says this isn't just a metaphor. When you are in despair, lift up your eyes. It seems to have been an actually known practice, not just for psychiatrists in the room. Lift your eyes, especially on days you find yourself staring at the ground, afraid or hopeless. Lift up your eyes when you're in a doom loop or a feedback loop. Lift up your eyes, especially when you can't take your eyes, off of that screen. Especially when you're stuck looking in one direction or when you've given up a little on humanity. Lift your eyes and look up towards the green mountains, towards the horizon, or to the eyes of another human being. Lift your eyes in a new direction, and maybe, just maybe, your soul will follow. And the mountain that you look towards, maybe it is the Green Mountains, or maybe it's Mount Sinai, because we're walking in that direction too. If it feels too far away, that mountain, if it feels too big from where you are right now, then lift your eyes. According to the Sephardic Gaon, the Chida, lift your eyes to your next act of chesed, to your next act of loving kindness, because sometimes the mountain is that far. And our Talmudic sages, they get even more creative. In Bereshit Rabbah, Shmuel Bar Nachman says, don't read El Heharim, towards the mountains, Ella El Hahorim, towards the ancestors. Lift your eyes to those who taught us and raised us. In moments of despair, look towards our mythical ancestors, the ones who navigated unprecedented terrain before they even dreamed that we could. Look to our historic ancestors who crossed continents and seas all alone, adopted new languages, suffered and thrived, who invented resilience. And more literally, train our eyes on our parents, on our elders, those who taught us to be mensches in this world. What would they do in this moment? Me'ain yavo ezri. From where will my help come? Now here things are going to get trippy, because the simple translation of me'ain is from where. And yet, me'ain can also be translated as from nothing, as in yesh me'ain, something from nothing, creation ex nihilo. Me'ain yavo ezri gets interpreted as my help emerges from nothingness. Our mystical ancestors understood this ayin, this nothingness, as the Kodesh Kodashim, as the Holy of Holies, a space thick with movement and meaning, the primordial source of all life. It's what we sense but we can't see. Anything beyond our comprehension, anything concealed or unknown is called ayin. God is called ayin. Our soul is called ayin. Me'ayin yavo ezri. Our help comes from this place, this unknown ayin. The place where the yesh, where the something, and the ayin meet, where being and nothingness touch, where they commingle. That is faith, emunah. The Kabbalist Reb Azriel of Gerona writes, and this is a translation from Danny Matt, being as it begins to emerge from nothingness into existence is called faith. For the term faith applies neither to the visible, comprehensible thing, nor to the nothingness, what is invisible or incomprehensible, but rather to that nexus of nothingness and being. Faith is at this nexus. It comes at seeding time. Faith is inchoate. It's imagining a future where one doesn't currently exist. Faith lives in winter, in darkness, with renewed life simmering underground. And faith, every time we say amen, we are seeding faith. Amen, emunah, amen, amen, amen. You know, actually, there's another word, ma'en, same letters, just reversed, which means stuckness or to prevent, to stop, ma'en. And every time we say amen, I sometimes feel like we're rearranging those letters willfully. Amen, amen, amen. So our way forward, our help emerges from this place, from this nexus point where nothingness and being touch. It must come from faith. And yes, the ultimate help comes from God because we're in the Psalms. Ezri me'im Hashem osei shamayim va'aretz. Our help comes from God, creator of heaven and earth. The Piazetzner Rebbe, the Rebbe of the Warsaw Ghetto, reminds us that the psalmist doesn't write, my help comes from God who brought us out of Egypt, because we have that and throughout much of our liturgy. But it's from God who made heaven and earth. And for him, that's because God knows how to create ex nihilo, out of nothingness. This is the one who can teach us, the one who wrote the book on something from nothing, who imagined and actualized a present and a future where there was no template. And so even this verse brings us back to Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. My help, our help comes from that place of nothingness. The book of Psalms, that one, I have it still. I carry it wherever I go. The one given to me by my cousins in Sfat. The one where my cousin wrote down to remind me of each psalm that the Rebbe gave me and when to recite it. That book, it travels with me, and I am forever grateful to that Rebbe for teaching me of the healing power of these psalms. Shir la ma'alot. I pack a song as I set out for the journey, a song that is made for climbing. Esa einai el he'arim. I lift my eyes from the ground, where they are a little glued, and I lift them towards the majestic mountains of Torah, of Vermont, of family, and of nature. Me'ayin yavo Ezri. My help emerges from hidden, unforeseen places, from the ground in winter, where here we are at the beginning of spring. Ezri me'im Hashem, osei shamayim va'aretz. Our help emerges from the one who teaches us to create with no template, with no trodden path, to return to the nexus where being emerges from nothingness and where faith can be born in each and every one of us. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.